Hi, I'm Charlie Collins, and this is the Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast. And you're very welcome once again to our podcast here, the Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure Championships, of course, in full flow now, coming towards the latter stages. And we're going to look back over last weekend and look forward to next weekend. Plenty of great action at the weekend. And of course, the junior and intermediate finals to be played next weekend. John Harn and Danny O'Donnell are with me as usual. Good to see you again, lads. John, we're going to start with the senior championship, but I'm going to start with the game that was played in Donald Park on Saturday, just to allow you to settle in, because I know you're a bit distraught about what happened on Sunday. Gweedore 3-9, McCool's 11 points. Just before you start, John, I want to thank Donaf Construction in Massachusetts for their support for the podcast. Almost forgot about that. John, Oisín Gallen performed 10 points out of 11, but it wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't enough, Charlie. On the day, Gweedore just had a wee bit stronger than them. Gweedore, I suppose, got the dream start that McCool's were looking for. Gweedore got it. They got 2 points. The next thing, then they got the penalty. And McNeil stuck it away calmly. And it just gave Gweedore the platform to build for the rest of the game. Gave them confidence. You know, they wouldn't have gone into the game overly nervous. They would have fancied their chances against McCool's. But a dream start like that just takes the whole pressure off them. Yeah. Plus the pressure on McCool's makes them have to come out and, you know, every ball counts then. And McCool's bravely got back into it, Charlie. You know, as you say, the Oisín Gallen show, he got some perfect pinpoint balls from Bradley Walsh in the first half, took them marks, kicked a couple other mighty scores from play, Charlie. Like, he is a dream to watch at the minute. He's just unmarkable. Left foot, right foot movement, can win his own ball, them marks, took them under pressure, you know, kicked points. And, you know, McCool's were hanging in there, Charlie, but Gweedore just cut them open too easy for me, Charlie. In the second half with them goals, he just ran down through the middle. There was no one there. It was just far too easy at that level. And, you know, once Gweedore got their chances, they took them, Charlie, got the goals, and were always at arm's length. And McCool's never got close enough to make a game of it in the second half. But in saying that, Charlie, listen, McCool's have had a great year. They'll learn from that. They'll look back on that video and say, God, we were very naive, maybe very open at the back, down the middle, Charlie, for them runs. Yeah. There's a couple of hand passes that were gone through. They were in behind them, and they took their chances, worked it and took their chances, and then just kept them, as I say, at arm's length. And McCool's just couldn't get close enough to get the crowd involved, Charlie, to give themselves a lift. And listen, Gweedore are there, Charlie, going rightly. They'll be happy to be there. Ethan Hargan had another big game. They're getting more minutes out of, you know, they're going further in the championship, which is making them fitter, stronger, more confident, cohesion, playing together. And they're in a final, Charlie. Once you're in a final, you have a chance.
Yeah. Danny, the 5-point lead, as John said, was a nice cushion for Gweedore. And again, as John said, McCool's got to within striking distance a couple of times, but each time they did, another goal. And even Ron McNeil said to me afterwards, the goals came at very opportune times for them.
Yeah, goals win games, Charlie, at that level. And I think we talked before about, you know, bridging the gap between, say, the so-called top four and the rest. And McCool's have tried to bridge that gap, but it was always there on Saturday. There was still a gap in terms of conditioning and pace. That doesn't come overnight. That comes over a process. Like, they had six teenagers, a young team. So there's no doubt that they're going to develop if they keep buying into the process and keep doing the things during the winter. I mean, their big days are coming. There's no doubt about that. The big challenge will be holding on to the young lads, that when college careers start or their jobs start, where they end up going. But once you're winning, or once you think you can win something, it's easier to stay at home. So McCool's can be more than happy with their progress. Yeah, they'll be disappointed with the game on Saturday, but I don't think they played that badly. I don't think it was a case where they were outplayed. I just think they gave it everything they had on the day, but they came up against a Gweedore team with loads of experience, loads of quality players. Like Darrell Boyle, for me, looked like a county player out there on Saturday afternoon. He has that power and that pace. He was able to step inside a man and create that overlap, to create that run through the middle. Owen McNeil has played a wee bit deeper, kind of orchestrating things. They played Dol McGillivray back around the half-back line. They doubled up on Oisín Gallen. It was Gary McFadden marking and Neil McGee standing in front of him. So it's not that Oisín is trying to play against a +1. He's playing against the double markers. The last time we saw that in this county was Michael Murphy being double marked. Yeah. So that's the type of player Oisín Gallen has become. But no, Gweedore overall, impressed with some of the kind of unsung players. You know, Aidan Branhat, number 2, I'm very impressed with him. Now, what they seemed to do for me was they put him on Jamie Keegan, kind of hammer the hammer stuff, and he put Jamie Keegan on the back foot for a lot of the game. Every time Gweedore had the ball, Aidan Branhat went ahead of the ball, pulling Jamie Keegan down the field. McCool's needed Jamie Keegan up the pitch, getting on the ball, making
Wasn't
something
as
happen.
effective as they had been.
Couldn't
in the
get on it,
quarterfinal.
but when you're playing on the back foot, Charlie, it's very difficult to impose yourself on the game. Joel Bradley Walsh was pulled out from the inside line very early because there was a bit of bother around midfield. So all of the little things that McCool's needed to work early doors was kind of taken away from them. Plus, they were 5 points down.
Yeah.
You know, Gidor got off that flying start. But yeah, I agree with John. Gidor they're always going to be a dangerous outfit anyway, you know. And we talked here about as their top 4. We all said there was a top 2. Then I thought maybe Kilcar were 3 and Gidor were 4. But they're never that far away from being in the top 2 positions. And now they have a chance in the county final with no real pressure on them to have a real crack at this new Connell outfit. They do have quality players. Like I mentioned, Darragh Beale, they have other players in there as well. I thought Ethan Harkin was really impressive in that first half.
Very good.
1-3 from play, 1-5 overall. But they were come up against McCool's team, who I suppose what they need to do next is find a defensive formula that's going to work for them, because 1-14 against Glenswilly, 3-9 against Gidor, in those big championship matches, it's too open. You can't afford to concede that. And the other big challenge will be somebody to take the workload off Oisín Gallen.
Absolutely.
Because the day is going to come where teams are going to treble mark him. He's going to be quiet. A bit like a David Clifford type thing, might be down to 5 or 6 points.
Yeah.
So you still need somebody else to step up with the other 5 or 6 points. So, but they've work to do, but they're in a good place, Charlie McCool's.
They're in a good place. It's a very young team, like the youngest team in the championship that has got to the semi-final. So our youth is on their side, and they'll have enthusiasm. They've got legs there, so they've loads to build on, Charlie. Like if you're in McCool's over the winter, you know, in the management team, you have a lot to work for. You'll probably have them boys eating out of your hand. They'll do whatever you want because they've had a big season. People are talking about them playing attractive football, so everything's good for McCool's. But they will have to, you know, tighten up in the defence and come up with another game plan, even if it is if Oisín Gallen is tightly marked. Can we play a different way? Can we get runners coming from midfield and other boys score? Because you do see it as soon as they get the ball, they look for him. Even if it goes into someone else in the half forward and Oisín comes out, it's given the ball. There's never anything, well, throw a wee dummy, don't give it to Oisín and someone going behind and slip someone in for a goal. It's all Oisín. It's very one-dimensional.
Understandably, John.
Well, absolutely. We had Devaney for years and the same thing. If you didn't give it to Devaney, he would fucking let you know. So, you know, it's a bit like that there. But you have to, you know, you can't depend on one man to win you a championship. So they're going to have to come up with another wee attacking formula where it's not all on Oisín Gallen, you know.
All right, we'll talk more about Gidor next week when we're looking forward to the final. Second semi-final was everything we expected it to be, John. I'm going to say, unfortunately, from a viewing point of view, it was just typical Niamh Connell St Eunan's. Nothing had changed. A real dogfight, and as has happened more often than not, Niamh Connell coming out on top.
Well, Jerry, that's been the pattern this last few years against St Eunan's. Unfortunately, bar the one,
the final 2 years ago.
The final 2 years ago, which, you know, I suppose in Niamh Connell now will say that was a blip, it was a one-off. St Eunan's will say, well, we showed what we can do, but we didn't do it before that, and we haven't done it since. So disappointment there. It was cagey, Charlie. It wasn't as bad as some of the games that the two teams had played. I thought, you know, St Eunan's scored 9 points. All right, it was always going to be a low-scoring game, but at least we got 11 shots off, Charlie. I know they went wide, but, you know, to me, it was a wee bit better than what we had seen before. Like, we have been beaten by Niamh Connell and we haven't played at all, and it's been very bad. I thought we at least had a bit of a go. It wasn't as dour as other games. That's what I'm trying. Now, it still wasn't great. Started off well, Charlie. St Eunan's 2 points, and then Niamh Connell came back and got 2 big points, but we seemed to lose our way there for 20 minutes in the first half.
22 minutes.
And not only did we lose our way, but like our defensive line, Charlie, was far too deep. We were just inviting Anthony Thompson to take them shots, Ethan O'Donnell to take the shots, Kieran Thompson. We were just lying too deep, and we're giving them space, and them boys are too experienced.
Some mighty points kicking.
I know they've been kicked, and people might say, "Oh, they were, you know, another day they wouldn't go over," but they back themselves, you know, and you have to admire them. And they got a chance, and they seen it, and they smelt blood, and they took their chances. And then they got a good start to the second half. There was 2 points in it. St Eunan's with the breeze in the second half. We thought, right, we had played well in the second half against Ballyshannon. You know, can we turn it on? But they got the first 2 points. It was out to 4 points, and you thought 4-point lead against Niamh Connell. It's going to be hard to drag back. Got it back to 1. So, you know,
it went to 10-6.
10-6. I had 4 points in it, and then we brought it back to 10-9. So, and at that stage, you know, you were hoping, God, another nick one here and we get it to extra time and maybe something happens then. But they were always in control, Charlie. When the pressure came on, Kieran Thompson could win the ball at midfield. They could break fast, get the score, and put us on the back foot. And it's the same old story. Once they're leading, Cherry, they dictate everything, and Sean Patton becomes redundant. They just run back for the kickouts, and he kicks it short. So I could have played in goals. That's that's the way they. So once Niamh Conaill are in the lead, they dictate the terms of the game, and it's very hard to play against them. If they're 2 points down, they have to push up. Sean Patton can go long over the top. You can hit them on the break. You could get them for a goal or a point. But when they're on top, they just sit back and invite you on, and they back themselves that their defence will be better than your attack. The attacking team will make a mistake, they'll turn you over and they'll hit you on the break. They just back themselves to do that, and well, 9 times out of 10 Donegal's enough. When they go a step further, maybe it's not enough, but in Donegal they have the measure of everyone at the minute.
11 wides for St Eunan's, 1 wide for Niamh Conaill. Kind of sums it up too, Danny, doesn't it? I mean, they were very economical in what they did, and they didn't take on shots that having said that, I mean, the scores they got in the first and second half were fantastic from distance, but most of the time they're creating that situation where we'll take the shot on when it's the right time to take it on. We're not going to be forced to do this. We'll recycle if we have to.
Yeah. Listen, whoever wins those type of games, they tell the story of the game, And like had St Eunan's, for example, taken 1 or 2 of those opportunities that were there, as John says, they got 11 shots away. Now, some of them were from difficult angles, but the 1 or 2 that maybe weren't,
easy,
And if Eunan's won that game by a point, then the conversation then is around where Niamh Conaill far too defensive and why they're not coming out and play a wee bit more. So all the attention now focuses on St Eunan's and how they couldn't break Niamh Conaill down. But look, we've talked often enough in here about Niamh Conaill and how they play the game and how well they play it. I mean, I thought on Sunday it was a real smash and grab job. Every time they went forward, they looked like they would score, and it was sporadic attacks. But I agree with John. I think St Eunan's allowed them space to get shots away. Like Anthony Thompson got a score just before half time. The score was 5-4.
That's right.
He was up on that left hand side, and the nearest player to him, I think, was Niall O'Donnell, maybe 5, 6, 7 yards away, too far away for a play of Anthony Thompson's ability. Jack McKelvey in the second half came up the pitch. I don't think he was going to shoot.
Couldn't believe
he didn't look like he was going to shoot, and he went, there's nobody closing me down, and he had a shot from outside the 45. But look, Niamh Conaill have quality players everywhere, right? And that was proven again on Sunday. Their ability, I thought one of the big things in the game, like the Sean Patton factor, Sean was taken out of the game completely. So, I mean, look, everything's hindsight. Would Eunan's have been better maybe on Sunday conceding the kick out and mirroring Niamh Conaill the other way and making an absolutely horrible game of football? But you might nick that game. Because what Niamh Conaill were quite happy to do was go long, because Eunan's had pushed up in the kickouts. Aaron Deeney was right up into the half forward line. So they were able to, they had to go long, but they were happy to go long with Charles McGuinness, Kieran Thompson, Anthony Thompson, the Dohertys, Ethan Donald coming in hard on breaks. Now, they didn't win every break. Eunan's won their fair share of breaking ball. But when they did win it,
they were effective.
Because Eunan's had pushed up, they were able to get at the Eunan's full back line very quickly. Whereas if Eunan's were winning it, the likes of Leo McLean, they weren't committing up the field. They were leaving boys back. So Eunan's weren't able to get that quick counter-attack off breaking ball. But just the way they're set up, their defensive shape. But look, Eunan's will look back and wonder, could they have played better? Could they have asked more questions of the Conaill defence? Like I made a point in here last week that I wasn't questioning the legs of Leo McLean or Anthony Thompson. I was stating the fact that they have more miles in the clock than them Eunan's players. But I never felt that St Eunan's tested that on Sunday. Like Leo McLean was able to sit in, Anthony Thompson was able to sit in and pick their moments to attack. So, like, you'll do that up to 40 years of age. But if somebody's running at you constantly, pulling you out of position, coming across your eye line in the D, you're going to have to chase somebody, tackle somebody. Eunan's played on the edge, again, probably too often. But had they kicked a couple of scores, it was the perfect game plan.
Different story.
It's a different story. But, look, the story is Niamh Conaill again. I mean, year after year, people write them off. Eunan's were favourites going into the game, believe it or not. And they just do what they do, and they won't change their way of play.
Big credit to them.
And they've got the Niamh Conaill, Martin Regan has got the credit in the bank that they can play like that, and if they lose, they've won enough county titles, they've won enough big games that the Glenty supporters aren't going to have a go at them or give out. If St Eunan's mirror that there, like Danny says, and play like that and sit in and you get beat, you're destroyed. You're absolutely destroyed. That's hard for a manager. Because Rory and David, and they're putting the time and effort in, and they're not training the team to lose. Or they want to win, and they'll win whatever way they can, and they'll try their best. But by Jesus, if you go down that road, That,
I felt watching the game on Sunday that Niamh Conaill were very comfortable in their own skin,
absolutely,
and their supporters were very comfortable with what they were playing because they're winning.
They're winning, yeah,
and that dictates everything.
Yeah.
And then with St Unions, if they are to mirror it, and you win it, you won't care.
They won't care.
But it's not the Unions' way of playing, if you know what I mean. And you could hear people in the terrace stands kind of almost giving out, but it's easy to give out from the terrace.
Oh,
it's a difficult when you're sitting or playing or even managing on the sideline. What Niamh Conaill present is a whole different set of problems to any other team in the county, and especially if they get a lead. And the crucial phase of the game for St Unions was 2-0 up to 5-2 down. And I remember saying to somebody who said me after 10 minutes, the script is written here.
Yeah.
Niamh Conaill are going to sit in, hit Unions in the counter attack, unless Unions can do something different, which they didn't end up doing.
All right, we'll look forward to previewing the final next week, of course, between Niamh Conaill and Gweedore, which will be played on Sunday week in McCool Park. Just to update you on the Senior B Championship, Airua beat Kilcar 2-11 to 13 points, and Gweedore beat McCool's in a good game 3-7 to 2-7. So it's Airua against Gweedore, and that'll be the curtain raiser on Sunday week and county final day. Relegation battles, guys, we'll just briefly look at them. You have a personal interest in this one, Danny, given your history with them. Milford, back to intermediate football, well beaten by St Knowles. I wasn't at the game, but I spoke to a few people who were well beaten.
Well, yeah, I wasn't at it either, Charlie, but speaking to a couple of lads that I would get on well with down there, yeah, look, they weren't at the races. Too much power and pace from St Knowles. Big game from Stephen Griffin, Paddy Morgan in midfield driving them. But they had 9 or 10 of their squad from the intermediate final that Milford won in 17.
Yeah.
Milford had 3 starters from that team left. And they've lost big players like Chippy Barrett, Luke Barrett, Gary Merritt, Joey Cullen. I could name another 6 or 7 that are out of that group. Even experienced lads like Paddy Peoples, Pádraig Curley, Davy Curley, Keelan McGettigan. So this is a completely new Milford team. And I don't think it'll do. I know they wanted to stay senior championship, everybody does. But I think there probably is a rebuild going to need to happen there. They have a young team, not good enough to stay at senior championship, obviously, because otherwise they'd still be there.
to rebuild at the intermediate championship, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough place, but at least they'll be able to go into it next year and have ambition to win something, and they're still playing Division 2 football. But they're going to have to rally the troops, and they're going to have to get their act together and push on, because once you start sliding, the slide can be hard to address. So they need to be very conscious of that. But I'm sure they will be. They're a good club with good people running it. So James McGinley's in there as manager. I'm sure he'll try and get things organised over the winter to get them back and get them at it. But for St Knowles, really important for them in their development.
They have potential.
They have potential, and their profile is, they're not losing many players. They have a couple of county lads in through them, Brendan McCall and Paddy Morgan, a couple of other young lads playing well for them. And then, for Stephen Griffin, to be fair to him, to come in there as player manager and take that on is a big responsibility when you're still out there as the main man in your team as well.
Yeah,
he scored 11 points at the
Something
weekend,
like that,
7 frees.
Yeah.
So he's been carrying that team for a long, long time, and to take on that responsibility now, fair play to him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big blow to Milford, John.
A big blow to Milford, Charity, absolutely, because they're putting the big effort in on the raids. Like they've got Chippy Barrett as a full-time games promotion officer, which I think is brilliant.
Fantastic.
And great ambition from them, and fair play to them. And I know they're getting a good turn out of it, and they're on the raids. So, but you have to bring it all through. It's a lot of work starting at under 8s and under 10s to try and improve your senior team 10 years later. But you have to start somewhere. So fair play to them. That's I admire their ambition. But yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth to be relegated charity intermediate. Not the end of the world, I don't think. In fairness to them, I don't think. But as Danny said, it's how they react now. Can they get their act together and try and get back to senior? If they get an intermediate final, charity, there'll be a buzz again. There'll be people going to matches. There'll be flags up. Yeah. So, but that's a long way away. No more than St. Jude's. It's another year away. It's another year gone, and they'll have to come back. So, a rebuilding job there. But we'll see how they get on.
Okay, intermediate playoff, Danny. Burt 10 points, Niamh Breed 1-5. Burt just getting through. I think they were the better side according to reports on the day, and the goal helped Niamh Breed scoreline, obviously. Yeah. But Burt, who put up a good show in the intermediate championship this year.
Yeah, well, look, Burt are probably one of the hardest teams to beat. I would know that from, we played them 1, 2, 3, 4 times this year, and there was only a kick. Well, the last game we won by 5 points to put them into that game against Niamh Breed at the weekend. But look, there's no point denying Burt have lost 1 or 2 serious players. Sean McHugh, particularly from their forward line, and Christy McDermott, county hurler, is out injured for them. So that blunted their attack. And if you look at their scores over the course of the season, not scoring heavy, the kind of defensive type games, and the Breach, I don't think have won a game all year, league or championship. No. So it was always going to be a tight game. Going into it, Bort were we bit worried about playing Lee Breach. Maybe a bit of history there when Lee Breach have beaten them before, possibly, but they'll just be glad to get over the line. They're horrible games, relegation finals. It's easily the worst game. I don't know why they call it a final. It should never be called a final for a start. Because you're not winning anything as such, But anyway, they'll be delighted to have survived. And for Lee Breach, like we played them in the league this year, and they were not in good place.
No,
missing a lot of players, things struggling a wee bit. Tried to pick it up for championship. Were competitive to a point, almost survived, but they're probably going to be better served playing junior next year. Not because they're a junior club, just because to get people back playing again, to maybe get their structures right and to build again. Because ultimately, if you don't have something to build on, you have nothing really to play for. So Lee Breach should bounce back fairly quickly because they have plenty of good players, but that's the challenge for them over the winter.
Okay. C Championship, just one of the semi-finals was played at the weekend. Petticoat beat Termon by 1-9 to 4 points. Good to see Petticoat getting into a final, John.
That's Petticoat's first team, isn't it?
Yeah, they won the Junior B 2 years ago. Now this is Senior C. That's their first team.
You'd expect that.
Yeah.
That's Termon's third team.
Yeah.
So in fairness, I'm not having to go with Petticoat, Charlie, but no, it's good to see them. But that's it. They're in the final. They might win it and give them a boost and come back again next year. I'm not sure who's doing it because I know my brother-in-law trained them a couple of years ago.
Oh, did he?
Sean O'Kane from Killyclogher, 2 years ago. I think I did hear who's training them this year, but I can't remember. But listen, Charlie, you want to see everyone.
Final, county final, good place to be.
Exactly.
All right, talking about county finals then, Danny, we'll start with Downings against Malin, intermediates on Sunday. I was looking at the stats there, the two clubs. Interestingly, just before I came up this afternoon there, and Malin finished second in the table, but only one club in the top 8 scored less than them, and that was Red Hughes by a point. So they were the second worst scorers. Now, they were some of the best conceders, as they say, they had to be. And there's a similar story then with Downings. Downings got 56 points in total and conceded 55. They were only a point. And if you look at their track record through the championship, Malin 3-1s in a draw in the groups, Downings 3-1s. Quarterfinals, they both won. Not overly comfortably, but they won it comfortably enough. Semi-finals, both games went to extra time. Both of them won it when perhaps they could have lost it in normal time. So it looks at the balancing things as if there's very little between these two clubs. Is that a fair assessment of it? Absolutely,
because when they met in the league this year, down in Downings, it finished in a draw.
Yeah.
9-9. And I think we're pretty much full strength, both teams. Like Christy Fildara missed out for Malin, and maybe, is it Paddy McAwee might have missed out for Downings. So they know each other in that regard. They met, remember, last year in the Division 2 league final, went extra time, literally a kick of a ball.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about this game, and like previous intermediate finals, you'd always have an inkling that one team might be stronger than the other. This intermediate final is generally that hard to call.
Yeah.
Really is. I think both teams will have huge respect for each other's forward lines. Downings have Lachlan O'Connor, McGrody, Michael Wee inside. They've a very good player at 6 and Ronan Gallagher. Very impressed with him.
Very good.
In the semi-final against Termon.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, you have Malin with probably 5 or 6 forwards. Christy Fildara. They have Josh Conlon, scored 4 points in the semi-final. Conor O'Neill, who played county under 20 this year.
Yeah.
The big question for Michael Byrne as manager is Sean Kelly, who came on at half-time in the semi-final, generally starts for them at number 15, places a +1 to give them solid defensive shape that they have.
Yeah.
That's why they don't concede many scores.
He made a difference when he came on.
And he made a big difference in the semi-final. But to fit Sean into the team, you're probably going to take out one of your forwards. Now, they didn't start Benny McLaughlin in the semi-final. So, and in previous games, Conor O'Neill didn't start or Josh Conlon didn't start. So, if they bring Sean Kelly in, they're going to take another forward out. So they'll play with 5 forwards, but they'll have 2 exceptionally strong forwards on the sideline. I think their bench might be stronger than Downing's bench. Like if they go, say, with Benny McLaughlin and say Conor O'Neill on the bench, they have another lad there, Seamus Houghton, who comes in the full forward line as a handful, big man, intelligent player. So in terms of in a tight game, it might be the bench that swings it for somebody. And I think Malin looked to have the stronger bench. But this is going to be a game where both teams will play defensively. That's the way they're set up. They then like to move the ball up and let their forwards do their stuff. It'll become down to what defence can handle the other set of forwards best. Do Malin look at the +1 with Sean Kelly and make sure there's no space for your Lachlan Connor, McElwee, McGrady. McGrady a county player.
He is.
County
And a
panel
good
this
one.
year. And a good one. And they've got other threats coming from deep. Keelan McGrady coming from deep. Oisin Boyce coming from midfield. So I think the Malin defence will be really tested by Downings, more so than it was by Fanad, for example. The Downings defence against Termon were tested and came through the test fairly well. I know Termon had a lot of wides on the night or on the day, but it might be the bench then. No, you can tie up Christy Valdara, you might tie up Josh Conlon, but with 20 minutes to go, they throw in Benny McLaughlin or throw in Conor O'Neill, fresh legs. That might be the difference that gets them over the line. But look, it's going to be so tight. And the other interesting battle for me, the Ronan Gallagher I mentioned a second ago, Matthew Byrne, who brother Michael's the manager, good player, plays at number 11, but plays
sweeper's role.
No, he doesn't go that far deep. Sean Kelly does that. He goes into midfield as a kind of a quarterback. He's their ball player. They get him on the ball and he sprays the ball about to the boys inside. So if Ronan Gallagher lets him go, that means Ronan Gallagher's going to get a free run from 6. And he did cause Termon. He caused Termon a lot of damage.
He did.
So that'll be an interesting matchup. Do Malins keep Matthew further up the pitch to occupy Ronan Gallagher? Or will he play deeper and try and get on the ball and be part of that defensive shape? So it's going to be intriguing to watch the tactical setup.
John, you've played in a lot of finals. Does it come down simply to how guys handle a final? Both these clubs will be so keen to win this intermediate championship. They've done well in the league to get into Division 1, but I mean, we know that winning championships is the be-all of everything. Will they be affected by it?
Oh, I tell you they will, because I say it all the time. Like, I think it's 30 years since Downings won the intermediate, and you said, Danny, last year it's a long time since Malin won their intermediate.
They've never won it.
They've never won, so they've never won it. So, like, although Malin have been in senior semi-finals and that, it's a big charity, because there's people coming home, there's people coming back from Dublin, people that have never been in a match all year will go to a final. They'll get the crowd out, they'll be bunting up. So there's a big excitement, charity, and there's big hype, and there'll be people. The Malin and the Downings players, I guarantee you'll be watching this podcast to see what we're saying, and
everybody watches this podcast.
Everyone watches it. But so everyone likes a bit of hype, Charlie. Everyone has an ego, boys. When they mentioned who's talking us up, who we're going to mark,
who's talking us down.
Who's talking us down? I put it up on the dressing room wall. So it does come down to that, Charlie. Who can handle it? The pressure. Big crowd.
I'm just thinking in terms of John. Both of them could have been beaten in normal time in their semi-finals.
Yeah.
Both of them got out of jail. I was at both games. I just felt that both of them got out of jail. They were tight games. Yeah. But Termon will feel that the wides they kicked was unbelievable.
I've seen that game, Charlie. I haven't seen Malin.
Fan and Gales got to 1-7.
Yeah.
And that was the end of them.
That was the end of them. Yeah.
They led by 2 points and they never scored after.
No. So, I've seen Downings twice, Charlie, and what I've seen of them is they have good forwards. Well, I've seen them 3 times. I've seen them against St Eunan's in the league. So they're both playing Division 1, which fair play to them. And I thought they had very good forwards. But what I've seen of them against Termon, out in Termon, and against Termon in O'Donnell Park, although they won the game, the semi-final, they didn't get enough ball into them. They were living on scraps, but what they got, they made good use of.
Yeah.
So I think if Downings can get enough ball into their forward line, now you can say that about every team. Geez, if they get enough ball, then they'll win it. But if Downings get 50% of the ball, I think they can win it. I think their forwards are quality. Now, Danny knows more about the Malin boys. I haven't seen them in a few years. But I played against Michael Bourne. He was on them teams, and Christy Fodera. They were playing when I was finishing up, and good players. So but I haven't. And Sean Kelly's been around a long time, a brilliant player in his day. And Jesus, the Kellys have given great service to Malin, Big Paddy, and what do you call the other boy? They have another Sean, Paddy, and there's another brother there. Great service to Malin and good players. But I think if Downings can get enough ball into them, McGrady, Larkin Connors, and Paddy McAwee, that they have enough to score. But easier said than done. As you say, Jerry, it's a final, so someone has to step up.
Yeah.
They'll be making tactics, they'll be talking about game plans, your +1, who's going to double up here, who's going to mark there. But somebody has to do something a bit different. Say, right, when I get the ball, rather than what I'm programmed to do, I see a weakness, I'm going to have a go here. Play a 1-2, kick it over the bar, kick it in the back, and then do something. There's someone's going to have to step up and have the game of their life and say, this is the final, I'm the man. We're not going to leave it behind us. We're not going to have any regrets thinking, oh, geez, if we had done that there. You get one chance, Charlie. As you say, Malin's never won an intermediate title, so it's massive for them. 30 years for Downings, it's a new generation of players. So a lot on the line, Charlie. It's massive for both clubs and both parishes and supporters. So there'll be a massive crowd in O'Donnell Park, and there'll be a big, great noise and great atmosphere. So You know, if you're doing nothing on Sunday, the Sunday it's on.
Sunday's
Sunday,
on,
and
yeah, 4 o'clock.
the other one's on Saturday. So
Call it then, Danny.
Look, I'll be honest, Charlie. Like Downings, as John said, 30 years since they won the Timidity Championship, and hunger does play a part on big days. And even that year they won it, they played us in 4 games in the first round, 4 Titanic matches, and we were lucky enough to win the year after that.
Yeah.
But they won it that year in '93. Kevin Cookie himself, the manager, was on that squad. So
Yeah.
I see even up on their Facebook page during the week they have the team up from '93.
Yeah.
Now that created a wee bit of pressure as well, expectation. From a Malin point of view, I mean the excitement up there at the minute, Charlie, is off the charts.
Yeah.
You know,
You could see it. You could see it.
you can see it, and I said this to you last week about the connection between the supporters and the players. Like they have been dealt 2 massive blows to the club in the last 2 years with the death of John Byrne,
Yeah.
who drove that club for years, and then John Rustard McLaughlin, a young man who died tragically. So when that happens to any club, it's not talked about, but it's just in the background all the time. That just knits people together. You know, they're up there in the most northerly club in the country. Everything's a journey to them, but their club is the centrepiece of their community in a massive, massive way. And you know, you have to admire what Malin have done over the years. You know, getting a senior semi-final is no mean achievement.
No.
They've lost 2 intermediates in '99 and '01. So could this be third time lucky? Look, because I know them as well as I do, I will go for Malin on this. I think that hunger. I think the crowd. I mean, I know for a fact, whatever is down and Downs in terms of support, they'll need to come out on Sunday, because if they don't, they're going to be well outnumbered.
Malin always travel. They're great support.
they're coming-
Even for a league
They're
game.
coming stronger again this weekend. Everyone you speak
even
to
if
up
you go
there.
down to Malin for a league game, Charlie, when I was playing, there'd always be a crowd there.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
where
They
they
love
know,
it. They
fair
love
play
it.
to them. And like Charlie, I remember as a young fella going to McCool Park watching in a showing, maybe against Red Hughes. I don't think it was-
Amalgamation,
an
yeah.
amalgamation, like
Yeah.
in a senior championship, maybe third
Yeah.
play, maybe against Termon it was. You know, as a young fella, like back in the maybe early 90s. You know, so
Some changes that,
Some
John.
changed that. You see Moville now in the junior final
Yeah,
and
but
Malin. Like,
Malin
so,
have been carrying the flag
they have
for a show for a long time.
So,
in fairness
you
to
know,
them, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
brilliant. Great, fair
Who
play
you,
to
who
them.
you calling?
Well, I'm talking up Downings, so I'll go for Downings, Charlie. But no, please, got to be a good game, Charlie. You know,
Hopefully.
big game and
Hopefully.
big crowd and
And
plenty of
just
excitement.
one thing, Charlie, before we finish. I hope it's not decided on penalties, because I think it will be a close game. I
Yeah.
would hate to see a county
Yeah.
final
There's
decided
a
like
facility
that.
for
replay
replay.
Is there
for a final?
finals? That's good.
For a
Yeah.
final,
So
I think so.
this is going to be tight, but
Yeah, for a
John
final.
went Downings, I'll go Malin.
Okay. Intermediate B will proceed that at 2 o'clock in O'Donnell Park on Sunday. Neath Columba against Termon. The Junior A final is on at 4 o'clock in O'Donnell Park on Sunday and will be preceded by the Junior B, Robert Emmis against Convoy. Good derby game there, John.
Tasty.
That's a good one. Junior final, Narossa against Moville. Danny, you sent me some stuff earlier on today, and actually some of the boys mentioned to me up at the press thing on Sunday evening that Narossa beat Moville by 15 points in the league this year.
Yeah.
So, whether Declan likes it or not, we're going to have to make them favourites on the basis of that, are we?
Well, I think they're favourites anyway, Charlie, if I'm being honest. Just, why are they favourites? In my own head, I think the Adrian Hanlon factor has changed things slightly for Narossa. I think he is a quality player. I think he still is only mid-30s. He scored 2-7 in the semi-final. He's going to take a bit of marking. But look, Moville know about him, so you got to do your homework. You got to prepare properly for it. But yeah, the lads were chatting at school. The year they won the junior last, I think they had lost 4 times to Malin that same year by about 10 points each time, and they beat Malin in that county final. So they have a bit of history in terms of turning that. 09, I think it was, something like that.
Yeah.
So, like Moville, you know, from chatting to them, you know, there's like Shamey Haggerty's young fellas, or Shamey Haggerty, that's Jimmy Haggerty's son. He's the
Yes.
kind of a player coach along with the lads I mentioned last weekend. So they're in there. He's been involved for years. Nigel McMonagle's involved for years. Enta Faulkner's involved for years. Danny Murphy, their full forward, a good player, involved for years. So they've got. Remember, they played Division 2 football for 2 years, a couple of years ago. So they have pedigree. You know, they're not coming from Division 4.
No.
Narossa are coming from Division 3,
Yeah.
trying to climb up the ladder. So Moville have been there, struggled to go back to Division 3, but that couple of years will stand to you in terms of experience, a bit of know-how, and who you're playing against. So they'll go into a county final as underdogs, which makes any team dangerous. Narossa have to handle that. But look, they've Declan Bourne on the sideline, like, plenty of experience. They have quality players like Oisin Caulfield, County Under-20, playing in the half-back line. Young McCahill playing for them as well. Or McHugh, sorry, dangerous player for them.
Yeah.
And then they have, I don't know if Johnny Boner is still playing used to
He
play from the
is,
economy.
he
He's
is,
still in
yeah,
there. Eugene Malloy in midfield. They have a lot of know-how. But O'Donnell Park's a big field. Do The key for Moville will be what can they get out of Danny Murphy at full forward. He seems to be their key man. Scored 1-4 in the semi-final. Nigel McMonigal might come off the bench in the second half. Lively player, one of the older players as well.
Yeah.
So Moville will be underdogs. The Ross are for me are favourites to win it. And a 15-point. You mentioned complacency before. You shouldn't be complacent in the county final. But when the Rossa boys are in their beds this week, they know they have the measure of this Moville team.
Yeah.
Does that blunt their edge a wee bit, and does it sharpen Moville's edge?
I'm sure the Declan will be reminding them
because all Moville have to do at the start and the team talk is we're not getting hammered by this group.
Yeah.
So once they're competitive, then they go, hold on, now we're in the game, because their first thing will be competitive first and then see where it takes you.
Well, if you go on the form, Charlie, right? So who's giving Ross the closest games this year?
Well, they squeezed through against Neve Connell in
Well,
that playoff game.
they drew the first game in the championship and then won by a point in the second game. So that's where I'm coming, Charlie. You're right. So Neve Connell, who put Neve Connell out of the championship? Moville and Glenties. So I've said that's a big result. So straight away, if you're in the Ross, you're saying if they can beat Neve Connell, they're a good team. Because
John, I'll counter you by saying I was at that game in Balbafay where Rossa came back and scored 4 points later on, 2 of them in injury time to win the game. And I'd been at Convoy the week before to watch Convoy against Neve Ilton. And Boner reminded me this up at the press conference the last day.
Yeah.
I couldn't see Rossa
beating Convoy.
I
know that.
And they beat them comfortably.
Yeah, you can never the form doesn't really go. But at the same time, you have to say Moville are decent enough. They could go to Glenties and beat Neve Connell and Glenties
and then beat Muff. Muff are
not bad. So they're on a bit of a roll, and the confidence will be up. They're obviously playing well, and they'll get a big boost when you win. And you get a big boost going to Neve Connell and beat them. The boys will be coming back on the bus saying, "We're right chance here, boys. We're going well." Come out the next day, beat Muff. You're up again. We're in a county final now, boys. These boys think we're useless. That they've hammered us before. They've nothing to lose, and obviously they've a bit of quality about them to get them results. So Rossa would need to be very, very careful.
Team, Danny. Pat McLaughlin's on there and John Quigg's assisting them too.
And
soccer men, you could say, with big backgrounds in soccer.
And Shamie Hegarty's the player coach.
But John Quigg has a good history of working with players. He brought a lot of good young players through at Derry City.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the key to Moville's story this season is that the two men that come in, Pat McLaughlin and the John Quigg come in. I think is Pat McLaughlin isn't there for his GA knowledge. He's not a GA background, he's a soccer background.
Yeah.
But his man management seems to be the reason he's in there. And then if you bring in somebody like John Quigg with his football experience, it doesn't have to be Gaelic or soccer, just the fact that he's that experience, good way with people, do a bit of coaching.
Coach,
and then you have one of your own staunch men in there as a player coach.
Yeah.
That's a good mix as a management team. So they'll come into this county final as underdogs. And traditionally, Charlie, Rossa have always been underdogs in most big games they've played over the years because they are a small club, small pick. This is a different dynamic from the Rossa. They're now going in as the favourites. So they're going to have to carry that favourites tag and deal with it. Which, when I was there with Milford 2016, it's not always an easy tag to carry. It might be okay with the players on the pitch, but your supporters expect you to win. And if then things don't start working out the way you wanted or expected, the tension can start from the stand, not from the pitch.
That's right.
It could be from the stand where the nerves come.
You can hear them in Balbafay roaring.
And then the Moville fans start going, hey, this is on for us now. And then that transfers onto the pitch. And then Moville lads grow into their jersey. And the Ross lads might shrink a wee bit. And then it's in the balance.
Game on.
Right, John, call it.
I'd say Rossa.
Okay.
After all, they bumming up and go for the well. You just think that Rossa will have an up, but listen, Moville will have a chance.
Danny?
I went for Malin, and I'm going to keep the balance. I'll go for Moville.
Good man.
On his show, he's keeping in with
it. No, I just think. No, listen, I think Rossa clearly favours for it, but to keep the balance, I'll go for Moville.
Yeah. Isn't it great to see two teams from Inishowen in our county finals, boys? I mean, you were talking earlier on about Inishowen as an amalgamation, and now there's so many clubs who are competing at the highest level. You could say, just outside the top division, but
until you're up there, either working or living, you don't really see how strong soccer is in that part of the county. It is their first kind of sport.
Stronghold of soccer.
And all the Gaelic clubs, Oris, Muff, Buncrana, Malin, Moville, all the people that run those clubs for years have been doing all the right things, putting all the right structures in place. that Moville underage structure at the minute, they've done a 13 team that went out. But they beat Dunes last year in a county semi-final or something. Yeah. So there's an incredible amount of work going on. Malin are in a Division 2 minor final this weekend. So they are putting all the right things in place to give themselves every chance to compete at the highest level. We're starting now to see county players coming from the show.
That's right.
Keelan McColgan's in there, and then Conor O'Donnell from Carndonagh. And there could be one or two more.
Yeah.
Because the more exposure you get to high profile games, like Jim McGuinness will be at the junior final, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And he'll be at the intermediate final. So all these players now in the shop window, and this is in the Sean clubs putting themselves on the map and sticking their chests out and saying, you know what, we're as good as any other club in the county, we can go and win championships. But that's the challenge. You've got to go and win the championship, and that's the challenge for Mill and Mal.
Absolutely. Well, we'll just give a mention, John. I know you keep a big interest in the under-17 Division 1 and 2 finals were played at the weekend as well. Division 2, Cloughanedy squeezing through against Muff, although I think it should have been more convincing than 1-8 to 1-5. 4 Masters, 3-14, 1 Cranach, 6 points. 4 Masters are a club that have really brought a lot of underage teams through in recent years, up to minor and under 20.
Well, Charlie, it's fascinating, really, and it's going to be fascinating to watch it unfold over the next 2 or 3 years. So, are we going to see 4 Masters really come to the fore and win senior championships
like they did before? Like they did.
Well, they only won one. You know, so but to win one, Charlie, is like
a big deal.
But they were competitive when
they were.
They
were
there.
They were exactly. Yeah. So, Charlie, you'll know because your Stephen was on the team. So St. John's won 3 minors in a row in 93, 94, 95, and then went on to win the championship in 97 and 99 with that young group of players coming through. Yeah. Now, we had Devaney, we had Kilcoyne, we had Mulgrew, Mark Crossan, so we had a good sprinkling of senior players. 4 Masters don't have that quality of player, right, at the senior end of things, so they're bringing all these young players through. And for me, Charlie, it's going to be fascinating to see, can they get to that level to be a top 4 team, or do they start challenging for championships in the next 3 or 4 years?
The guys that are in charge down there seem to be doing a really good job.
They can't do any more, Charlie. Yeah. What they're doing is brilliant, but it's just how far back are their senior team? You know, have they enough 25-year-olds, quality 25-year-olds, or quality 27, 29-year-olds to bring them young boys through now at senior level? Like I seen on Facebook yesterday, I didn't realise, Leo McHugh, he came on for Ballyboden St Enda's in the Dublin senior semi-final at the weekend. Big strong man. He used so to play at that level for Ballyboden to come on like in a Dublin semi-final is big. It's a big
is that one of the problems I've had, Danny, keeping players? We were talking earlier before we started recording the show about players going away.
I think it probably is, Charlie. And I mean that current regime they have there at the minute with all these players coming through. I was involved with the Donegal Academy, and they were the club with the most representation in the under 15, 16, 17s, and I'm talking quality players. Yeah, like there's a young lad there, Muldoon, Conor McCahill, Seddon, Shane Carr, who played for Donegal. He has 5 sons coming through. You know what I mean? So there's quality coming through. I think their challenge will be, like any big town, is keeping the lads grounded when they get to that 18, 19, 20, college career starts or immigration or travel kicks in. If you don't have a senior team that are well established, I think that might be the issue for them. Their senior team is young as well, so if one lad decides, I'm heading off to Australia this year, 3 or 4 go along with him, then somebody else sees that happen and go, well, I'm not hanging about because we're losing that nucleus. So the challenge will be to keep the current senior team intact to allow these lads to come through the next 3 or 4 years. That's their challenge, because at the minute their senior team is quite young, and they probably needed, say, your Carl Lacey's, your Durkins, your Dunyans, your Cars to still be knocking about, boys in their early 30s, for example. They would always be there for you the next 5 years. They're not guaranteed that this current team will be there in 5 years' time.
But I suppose if you look at McCool's, Charlie, they won the minor 2 years ago, and that team of Oisin Gallen, Chad McSorley, Bradley Walsh, like they would all have come up against a good St John's team with Porrick Ryan's back. So that McCool's team has taken, them young boys have taken McCool's to a top 4 team this year. But now Oisin Gallen is an exceptional player. Will 4 Masters be able to produce a player like that there? You know, because Gallen's exceptional and he's going to carry McCool's for the next 10 years. Can they win a championship with him?
But the one thing about 4 Masters is the structures they have in place. Like, I know Sean Dunyan would have been county chairman. He's behind the scenes. I think it's Porrick O'Donnell, but different boys like that doing a lot of work. Porrick Harvey. I don't really
Rory O'Donnell.
Those lads are doing, they all have kids coming through. So they're putting massive work in. And I would think, I don't know for a fact, but I would say they probably have a 5 to 10 year strategic plan in place of player development. Most clubs now do. They look at their underage structures, to look at player development path and see what type of player do we need, and can we bring those players through to our senior setup in 5 to 10 years' time. If there's no plan in place, those lads will be allowed to drift. If there's a plan in place, and that plan includes
jobs,
S&C, jobs, keeping them at home, getting, talking to one or two people about different things. It's all part of it,
Yeah. And I suppose the reason I asked the question, John, is I'm thinking down the line for our county team as well. Yeah. We need a club like Four Masters, because when we were successful, we had players from the Four Masters club. We don't so much now, so it would have to improve the county setup as well.
Absolutely, Cherry. And if you take the overall look at it now, Dave Collin are going to go into the senior as favourites and possibly do it. But if you look at the championship, say, coming down the line the next 2 or 3 years, it looks exciting to me. With McCool's coming, with Four Masters coming, Ardra were better this year, Gidor coming back into it. So there's new teams coming, Charlie, and it's going to be. Four Masters are proud. Look at all the good players they produced down through the Joyce McMullen, Kerr Lacey, Shane Carr, Barry Dunyan, all that, Paul Duncan. Aye.
But I agree with John's point. This whole championship has been a breath of fresh air. If you look at the teams involved in the finals this weekend, your Movilles, your Mallins, your Downings, and the Rosses, they've not been perennial winners over the last number of years. They've dipped in and out of winning things. Now they're trying. Well, Malin have never won the intermediate. Downings 30 years since they won it. The Rossa 1982 when they won the junior last. Now they won a couple of intermediates in between. Who's the other team playing against? Moville have won it twice. And haven't won it since 2009. So that's creating a buzz in 4 parishes that wouldn't have been there normally. The Jim McGuinness factor, the McCools, the Ardras, these teams kicking on. Gidor back in the county final. Need Connell doing what they're doing. St. Eunan's still trying to get to that, beat that Need Connell team.
Yes.
There's a lot of stories in GAA Donegal at the minute that are positive rather than negative. And I think that's really important for the game in the county, that like the likes of the Four Masters story, even Buncrana, who lost that county final.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good talent coming through, and they shouldn't be put off by that defeat, because I think this Four Masters team are exceptional.
Absolutely.
Clough-Neely won a minor title. Yeah. Malin might win a minor title. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening at the minute on the back of the Jim McGuinness appointment that create a lot of positivity, and our football has improved as well. The crowds are good. We'll see big crowds again this weekend. So I think it's been really good.
And just on the Four Masters thing, Cherry, I don't want anyone now to pick me up wrong. Like, nothing but total admiration for what they're doing. Yes. It's fantastic. They've set the bar. St. Eunan's, we've taken a long hard look at our underage this last 2 years because of what they're doing and seeing where we've gone. So we're trying to get back up there again. Now I know we bet them in the under 15 final, but it's what they're doing is phenomenal. I'm just fascinated to see
where they go.
And history would say it will work out for them. It has to. You can't produce underage teams and not be successful. But it's just, I'll just be interested to see. I'm sure
somebody will take offence, John, because somebody said to me during the week about the podcast, I really enjoy the podcast, but you don't please everybody. So my answer to that was, we're not there to please everybody. That's not our job. But anyway, it's good to be here, and it's good to get feedback from whatever type of feedback it is. It's always good. Thanks to Donaf Construction Company in Boston, Massachusetts, and to Paul Fried for his support on the podcast. Thanks to John and Danny again for coming in. Big weekend ahead for the junior and intermediate clubs, and then the following weekend is the senior clubs. Thanks to Tommy Conway here at Full Tilt Studios at the Mountain Top. Would you believe he was out and about at matches this weekend, and that hasn't happened. So we've motivated him to get out there as well. And good to see it. Tommy always looks after us very well. So that's it. We'll be back next week to see who's in the... What will we know next week?
Who's the championship? Junior champions, intermediate
championships, intermediate championships, and we'll talk, of course, about the Gidor and Eve Connell game in more depth. Thanks for joining us. Take care. The Donegal Sport Hub Donegal Daily Championship Podcast.